Hey, real quick, before we start the episode, guys, I just wanted to thank the 3 new patrons that we got on Patreon. All at the 64-bit legend tier. We have Ariok, Zero, and Wabiert. Thank you guys so much for your support, and I hope you really enjoy the mugs that are coming to you. They look awesome. My designers seem to do a great job. And so thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for helping me out. You guys are awesome. Thank you. Quick shout out to all the other patrons, of course, who are also helping me out. Thank you so much for your continuing support. And of course, a quick thank you to all my listeners who are listening on YouTube, Spotify, Patreon, and joining in on the Discord. Thank you guys for just being so supportive all the time. It's really a dream come true so far, and let's keep on growing this show together. All right, let's get on with the show. Hey there, welcome to Retro Reloaded. I'm your host Lance, and each week I tackle a retro game shaped by your picks. If you want a chance to choose next week's game or unlock exclusive bonus episodes and polls, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/retroreloaded. There's even a free tier to dip your toes in. Big thanks for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Now let's hit the start button and reload those retro vibes. Released by Blizzard Entertainment in March 1998, StarCraft emerged from the ashes of a struggling development process. Originally envisioned as a space-themed sequel to Warcraft, it was completely retooled to emphasize 3 distinct asymmetric factions: the adaptable Terrans, the swarming Zerg, and the cyanotically advanced Protoss. Blizzard's dedication to the balance and narrative depth paid off as StarCraft quickly became a critical and commercial triumph. Its innovative multiplayer design sparked the rise of professional esports, particularly in South Korea, where it became a cultural phenomenon and arguably the nation's premier competitive pastime. It is set in the distant Koprulu future. The story follows a galaxy on the brink of all-out war. The Terran's exiled human colonists struggle to maintain autonomy amid internal power struggles. Meanwhile, the insectoid Zerg, driven by a primal need to assimilate other species, descend upon human worlds in a relentless invasion. Above it all stand the Protoss, a noble yet isolationist race wielding powerful psionic abilities, who view both other factions as threats to the sector's balance. Across 3 intertwined campaigns, players experience the rise of key figures like Jim Raynor, Sarah Kerrigan, and Tacitor, whose fate collide in a weeping tale of betrayal, sacrifice, and the fight for survival. All right, with all that out of the way, we have our guest speaker, Tetra. She is back. She was the one who did the Fable episode. Thank you for coming back on.
Yep, no worries. I love StarCraft, and I can't wait to talk about it.
Yeah, so funny you mentioned that. So the reason I even played StarCraft this week was because you submitted it on the retro roster for the week. So why did you submit StarCraft out of all the games you could have chosen?
So there were like 3 exact reasons as to why. One of them is I have become obsessed again with the game after over a decade of not playing it. And that was number 1 reason. Number 2, because you hadn't done a PC game. And right. Number 3 was the fact that it was free. Okay. You had free access to it.
Yeah, yes, I had free access. I thought that was so cool. I was like wondering, how am I going to get my hands on a copy of StarCraft? Like, what am I going to do to, I'm going to have to go probably pay also, like $10. I'm going to
join the Cough Drop Club over here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, by the way, if people don't know, I'll probably mention it in a preamble before the episode, but I do have some voice issues going on. I've had them for a couple weeks now. So I'm taking a little break from streaming a little bit. Well, I'm streaming, but I'm doing no cam, no voice. But in place of me, I've added an AI bot that you can talk to in the Twitch chat. So if you go onto Twitch and you type /pal, or not slash, but !pal, then he'll talk to you and he'll respond to your comments. So I thought that was like
hilarious.
Yeah, Tetra got to experience it. What did you ask the AI?
So the first one was, how's the game going? And he responded about how he's the Zerg and he's going to annihilate everyone. The second one was after you had asked, like, you're playing the Terran, not the Zerg, and the thing is very much invested in the fact that he's playing the Zerg, even though you clearly weren't.
Yeah.
And that's when I made the comment of, like, oh, so you're the Zerg controlling the Terrans through the infested command centers, right? And he just rolls with it.
And it's funny because his personality is supposed to be like Majora's Mask, basically. And so...
Oh, yeah, I got that. I figured that out very quickly.
Yeah.
That's why he probably aligned with the Zerg.
Yeah, he's like, I play the Zerg, and that's all I play. But on the screen, you're seeing me play the Terran. And so, like, he's like, yes, I'm playing the Zerg, but I'm actually playing the Zerg, and I'm controlling the Terran. And he's all about destruction and, like, pranking people. So I try to make his personality fun. But yeah, it's a little way to replace me for like maybe a week, so I can kind of get my vocals back. But yeah,
he also was saying how the Overmind worships him.
Yeah. You asked him. You're like, oh, what did you ask him about the Overmind?
I was like, so how's the Overmind treating you? And he said the Overmind worships his feet.
Yeah, so he's like in control of the Overmind apparently for the Zerg. So, yeah, he's the big bad. So that's super funny. So. Yeah, you submitted it to the retro roster, and if anybody doesn't know, the retro roster is a roster that you get to submit a game through the 16-bit tier on the Patreon. So if you sign up for the 16-bit tier, you get to submit a game of your choosing. I do listen to game requests other than the retro roster, but the retro roster does take precedent over like normal game requests. And so, yeah, we played StarCraft for a week, but before we dive into like your story with StarCraft and like kind of your history with it, I forgot to read my unpopular opinions on the Patreon for the unpopular opinion side quest episode. So I was supposed to read them on that episode and I forgot. So me and you are going to be covering those comments, I guess. So let's
okay.
Yeah, might as well, So a little unconventional, but Mr. Arkansas says, Suikoden 1 is a better experience than Suikoden 2. People forget that many annoyances, sluggish story moments, and terrible gameplay elements there are because Luca Blight is a cool villain. Suikoden 1 is a less grating, more fluid experience after the first playthrough, whereas Suikoden 2's bad parts are more apparent and stand out more the times you play. Have you played those games?
Nope. No idea what they are.
You know what? I've heard of them a lot, and I know they're insanely popular, but I haven't played any of them.
I probably haven't know if I heard it, if I knew how it was spelled or saw the cover art.
Yeah, it's like Suikoden. Does that sound familiar?
Oh, I've heard about them, but I've never played them.
Yeah, me too. Same. I know it's like some sort of JRPG. I think it might have been like is it maybe like a turn-based battle system? I don't actually know.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, but I do know they're popular, and I do know that I really, really, really want to get into them because of how much people claim, the claim to fame they have. But yeah, I don't really have a opinion on that. So, Mr. Arkansas, sure. Well, Suikoden 1 is better than Suikoden 2. Me and Tetra both agree just by default. I guess. Well, do you? I mean, I'm just
go with it.
Yeah, we're just going with it. All right. So the second one is from a lore perspective. Superman 64 is great.
Oh no.
Yeah. So.
Well, here's the thing. If the gameplay was better, it actually probably wouldn't be that bad of a game.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Specifically the gameplay that kills it.
I think you're right. I think it was the gameplay because
The
that's
story
like,
itself is not that bad,
what is it like?
but
So I
it's
know
something weird.
what's
It's
the bad guy?
then again, it's uh, bad guy's probably Luther, if I had to guess.
Yes, Lex Luthor. You're right.
It's always Luther.
He's always there. He's always causing trouble. He's always bald, and he's like, I think he puts Superman in like a virtual game or dream or something.
Yes, he basically is trapped a few people in a alternate reality, a virtual reality version of Metropolis.
Okay, and so that makes sense. Yeah, no one gets far enough to know whether the lore is good because they hate the game so much. You know?
It's the gameplay that kills it.
Yeah.
I only know a decent amount about that game because I am a comic book geek.
Yeah, and I only played, I had it on the N64, but all I ever did is I tried the story mode and I couldn't like play, and it was kind of hard, and I just didn't like. I was like, this is boring. You're just flying through rings like the whole time.
You know, it'd be hilarious if someone requested you to play it.
I know. No, don't give them any ideas, please. I'm just flying through rings for a week. Yeah, the only thing I ever
there
did.
was some actual like fighting on the ground.
Yeah, there is a little bit, huh?
But you don't actually. Most people don't get to that point because the first like chunk is literally just flying through rings.
Yeah,
And it's like, why are you flying through rings? What's the point of it?
because
flying through rings is like the default thing for all games that have flying. Apparently, at least the older ones.
yeah, Pilot Wings, that one, Star Fox. There's some rings. Yeah, you're always flying through rings. But that one was like
the Harry Potter games also had when you were on the broom, you were flying through rings. The earlier ones.
Yeah, I did play the Harry part. I think it was the Philosopher's Stone one or the original one, but I barely remember it. So, yeah, Superman 64 lore is great. You know what? I guess it's good. I don't know. I don't get that
The
far.
game would be tremendously better if the gameplay was better.
Yeah, totally.
Even just a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, maybe someone should remake it and see if they can make it good. That'd be kind of funny.
That would be a fun project, actually.
Can we make Superman 64 a good
64
game?
Good game.
Oh, we'll see about that next time on Dragon Ball Z. Joe says the Doom games weren't that fun. How do you feel?
Okay, so here's the thing. I never cared much for first-person shooters. That, I guess you could say, is my unpopular opinion, is that I actually don't like first-person shooters. The only ones I ever really played were Halo and Halo 2, partially because my mom didn't want me and my sisters playing it. So we played it when Dad was home, and she wasn't.
Oh, okay, a little sneakaroo going on then. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't care if we played it, so yeah. But I do know that Doom is still held up on like this big pedestal to people because it is like one of the first main first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Was Doom.
Yeah, I only ever played Doom 3. I didn't really play the original. I know, how can I be a retro guy and I didn't play the original Doom, right? Like that's like a sin or something. But when I look at it, it doesn't look that. You know what game I did play that was similar? Hex or Hexen or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about? It was like Hexen.
Yeah, I think I vaguely know what that is.
It's basically like Doom, but you have classes. There's like a mage, a fighter, and something else. And that was okay because of the class system, but Doom 3 wasn't that fun for me. I know people really like it. I played for like maybe 3 hours, and then I quit.
Yeah, first-person shooters, I personally never got much of the appeal aside from past like the first 2 Halo games. But it's just people's preference on them, really.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back and play, and maybe I can get a newfound respect for Doom. But it does seem old, and it does seem like it could be fun. Maybe it's just like super fun. Maybe I just haven't played it. I don't know. But Doom 3, nah, I don't know. Not really wasn't my thing. It's like you walk, and there's a big intro to Doom 3, by the way. That you like walk in there, and there's a huge intro, and then you finally start fighting aliens. I don't think you really get cool guns until later on in the game, and I don't know, it's slow. So James
I remember the Doom movie, but
oh, yeah, with the Rock.
Who was in it?
I
Oh yeah,
thought,
no, yeah, The Rock was in it.
yeah, I think The Rock was in it. It was,
I remember Carl Urban was in it.
yeah, I think that was a C tier movie, wasn't it? It wasn't like that good, right?
Probably not.
Yeah, maybe. There's another idea. Rewatch the Doom movie, see if it's any good. I don't think it was because I don't really remember it that well. I remember like
Just have a whole side podcast of just watching video game movies. Watch the Super Mario Bros. Movie, like the original one from the 90s.
Oh my goodness.
Go watch the Zelda cartoon.
Yeah. Oh wait, I don't think I've watched the Zelda cartoon.
The first episode is on YouTube. One of my coworkers said she accidentally clicked on it, and I straight up told her that is half an hour and you will never get back.
It's that bad. It's that bad.
You have probably seen the meme saying, "Excuse me, princess." That is from that show.
Yes. Oh, okay. Now I do want to watch it because of the meme. The meme makes me want to watch it. That's funny. Yeah. So James says Killer Instinct was a better fighting game and should have been as popular as Mortal Kombat.
What is this?
I don't know how I feel about it. I liked Killer Instinct. I think I played the one for the Nintendo 64. I know there was a Super Nintendo one too, I think. But
yes, there was.
Is it as good as Mortal Kombat?
I do not know. But according to the internet, it was created by Rare. Rare originally made it. Was the studio that developed it, which explains why it got rebooted on the Xbox in later years.
I mean, Rare they did make good games back in the day, so maybe it was better than Mortal Kombat. But why would it not be as popular as Mortal Kombat? Maybe the fatality system?
Maybe.
I mean, the fatalities were pretty cool. Like when those first came out, I mean, they're overdone now because like you can only see people die in so many ways. But
Killer Instinct also made the jump from the arcade, so it was originally an arcade game.
Was Mortal Kombat originally an arcade game too? Or
I don't know.
That's a
good question.
I do know it was in many arcades, like when I was younger. But
yes, it also was on an arcade. Yeah, the arcade games that made the jump to the. It's interesting that, according to this, though, Mortal Kombat came first, so that might have had something to do with it.
Okay,
people would have seen it as a ripoff, even though it was made by Rare, but also was put out into arcades by literally the same company that did the Mortal Kombat arcade games.
Yeah, so probably what happened is just Mortal Kombat got there first, if I had to guess.
Yeah.
Like they just did it first, and so it was the game that took over. And so Killer Instinct kind of took a backseat. So hey, you know what, James, you might be right. Maybe Killer Instinct is a better fighting game, but I'm not well enough versed to really know.
Yeah.
Turian X says Mega Man X2 is better than Mega Man X1. Is that?
I know nothing about Mega Man.
I don't know if that's controversial. I don't even know if that's an unpopular opinion. I think I've heard this from other people. I do like the original Mega Man X game. I have played Mega Man X2. It's been a while. They're pretty similar in a lot of ways, but I think maybe it could be better just because you start like one thing I do like about Mega Man X2 is from what I remember hearing from Nick on the Mega Man episode is that he said that you start off with the slide. And in the original Mega Man X, you don't start off with the slide. You have to play Chill Penguin, which is kind of weird because it's like such a necessary thing to have in the game that and the thing about Mega Man is you can randomly choose whatever level you want. It's not like level by level. So you could skip over, if you were a noob, you could skip over Chill Penguin's level and not get the slide that you need. So maybe Mega Man X2 is better. I don't know.
I mean, a lot of the times the sequels to games that like the game series just sometimes are better because they exemplify what made the original good, but improve it, like fix some of the issues that people might have had.
Do you feel this way about Banjo-Tooie?
I do think Banjo-Tooie is a better game.
Wow. Whoa. I did not think you were going to say that. I thought most people were like hate it for some reason. Is it because it's too hard?
So I'm not entirely sure why. I have played both only a little bit. I've never completed either game. But I do know Banjo-Tooie also decided to add in a multiplayer, and the multiplayer mode is really fun.
What? No, I didn't know that. No, I had no idea.
Yeah, no, there was one that was like this entire... I'm pretty sure it was Banjo-Tooie that had like this quiz show thing that you could do on it for fun. And then there was like a first-person shooter mode for like the multiplayer. I'm pretty sure that was Banjo-Tooie.
Yeah, the only rare game I can think off the top of my head with the multiplayer that might have been similar is Conker's Bad Fur Day, and that was actually really fun. It was like a really fun multiplayer. So if you haven't played that multiplayer, that's 100% worth if you can somehow, do that. All right, yeah.
No, the game types, they had a few different ones for Banjo-Tooie. Few very interesting ones.
Yeah, I definitely want to play it because I didn't really play Banjo-Tooie. I played a lot of Kazooie, and I got to the witch, and I think I beat the witch, but I think there's a second fight that you have to do with the witch, and I didn't do that. What annoys me about Banjo-Kazooie, and maybe this is better in Tooie, is that when you collect the notes, and you, for example, you die. So let's say you collect 50 notes on a level. If you die, then you have to go recollect all those same 50 notes and then collect more, because what it does, it's like it resets every time you get out of a level. So you have to collect all the way up to like 100 notes each level, and if you die at all, you got to redo it again to get to 100 to get to that 100 number. So there's like these doors that you get blocked off, and you need so many notes to get through the doors. And so I don't know, does Banjo-Tooie fix that?
I'm not entirely sure, though. Do you want to hear some of the multiplayers in that game?
Sure. Well, let's hear some of them.
There's the shootout, which is the multiplayer first-person shooter. Everyone's got like a little kazooie, and they're shooting eggs. The Tower of Tragedy quiz show, which was a quiz show done by Grunty. There's a few other shootouts. There's a trash can challenge. Yeah, they added quite a bit of multiplayer modes to Banjo-Tooie, because I remember playing those a lot.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like fun, actually. I mean, I would try it, if I could. I mean, it's kind of hard to do like multiplayer 64 games. I think maybe there's mods out there.
I think there are mods. Or if you have Nintendo Switch Online expansion pass.
Oh, cool. And that has Banjo-Tooie?
I believe that does have Banjo-Tooie, but it's also got like Mario 64 and all those other games that like Pokemon Stadium.
Oh.
And everything.
Do they have multiplayer for Mario?
For Mario Kart and Mario Party, I believe they do. There is a way, I think, to connect to people online with it.
Yeah, I feel like they have to, because those games were kind of made that way, for that kind of experience.
Yeah.
So, and I'm glad they're bringing back some of the old games. They still have a lot to bring back. A lot of people are complaining that there's certain games that they haven't brought back yet. And I know, like, I think what, that's a whole nother topic that I could get into, but like, it's the whole like dead game revival situation. There's a YouTuber that Sonny keeps referring me to named Ross, and he's trying to get back these old games that haven't been revived.
I've seen a lot of stuff like that, where they're like, hey, try to revive this game series and whatnot, and then people try to do petitions online to try to revive things.
Yeah,
let's all remember that Duke Nukem was in purgatory for a while and then got brought back, and the game wasn't that good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Duke Nukem was ever good. I mean,
so it wasn't good compared to how the games used to be. Like, the game was in purgatory hell for like 10 years.
Yeah.
It was in development hell.
I just remember Duke Nukem being funny. I don't remember it being good. I remember...
know a lot of people... Well, here's the thing. The gameplay for Duke Nukem was fine.
Okay.
And the story I never understood, but it was funny. It was part of the thing. And they kind of tried to do that, but they lost a lot of the humor when they brought it back after it was in development hell for 10 years.
Okay, gotcha. Well, I guess rest in peace, Duke Nukem. I mean, yeah, he just remember the funny voice lines. I don't even... He's just like talking about taking people's head off.
Funny voice line.
Yeah.
I know, it's if you get rid of the humor, then what's the point in the game? Like, for instance, if you took the humor out of the Fable games would be very different if you took the humor out of them.
Yeah, a lot of the Fable games is humor. You're right. I agree.
That's why I hope they keep the humor when they bring it back.
I do too. I know. I feel like developers, are worried about going too far. Just do it. I mean,
Just go with it.
people are gonna like it. Maybe you just put in like a filter in there, like an option to filter out certain words or something if people don't want it. I guess. But yeah, just put it in there. It's funny. You feel free to be funny. Fable's about being funny. Duke Nukem's about being funny. I think that's what they're not completely. That's all they're about, but that's a big part of the game.
Yep.
All right, so let's go on to the StarCraft talk. We've been probably talking about unpopular opinions for a little while, and I know people really want to hear about StarCraft. So we already went over that you submitted it through the Retro roster. So how about what got you started into StarCraft, and what's kind of like your overall experience with this game throughout your life?
So I have mentioned it several times before. I've mentioned my dad a lot, and he's the one who kind of got us into games when I was younger. And like, for instance, N64, or the comment I had made about me with Ocarina of Time that you read on the podcast at one point. And all of that was from literally learning from him. He had StarCraft on, and we actually had 2 computers at the time when I first played this game. So it was me and usually one of my sisters going against each other in the multiplayer, or us teaming up against the computer player that would wipe the floor with us. And then eventually, when we got access to laptops, my dad he ended up with 8, I think it was 8 copies of the StarCraft 1 discs. Both
Whoa.
of them. So both the original and Brood War, so that we could all plug into the internet and all play StarCraft
Wow.
against each other. And usually it would result in my sisters teaming up against me, and then my dad would just kind of sneak into the background and help me out because my sisters were ganging up on me again.
Oh, did they do that a lot?
They tended to do that, especially because they both liked the Zerg. I do not like the Zerg. So they would sit there and gang up on me, and one of them would be basically just doing all the Zerglings, and the other person would literally just be doing something else. And it's like, I'm just getting the floor wiped with me against all these Zergs.
Yeah.
But
so now you have a
the one
special.
who got me started.
You have a special hatred for Zerg now because of your sisters.
Yes, I despise them. I despise them with a passion, and I also don't like the chaos that the race is. That's essentially what the race is, and probably why your pal thing was so obsessed with the Zerg. Because out of all the races, since you said it was more like Majora's Mask sort of thing, that's the one it would have been drawn to.
Yeah, I did not tell it to be drawn to the Zerg. He automatically was just like so adamant about being Zerg. It's funny. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, but so yeah, that's interesting. So I played the game for a week. I didn't get to the Zerg. I got through like
you were almost done with the Terran.
Yes, I think I was on like the second to
missions, and when I was streaming, because it had been forever since I had actually gone through tried to go through the campaign. It took me 4 hours to do the last 2 missions for the Terrans.
It's long. Some of the missions are long. I just wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready for.
Well, the first few Terran missions go by like really fast. Even the one where you're sitting there, basically just fortifying an area for 30 minutes. That's a lot quicker than the last 3.
Yeah, I did not expect that. I expected missions to be like 20 to 30 minutes long, like on average, but some of them not so much.
Some of them go for a very long time. I honestly would estimate someone who knows what they're doing probably 10 hours per campaign episode.
Yeah. Maybe if someone knew what they're doing, because for me, I think I might have put close to 10 hours in, and
you were almost there.
I was almost there. I know what? I would have been there if I didn't. Okay, we're gonna get me. I guess we'll get me started on this point. So, if I didn't die, I think I could have gotten there. about
Or
this
did
game.
you almost accidentally kill Kerrigan at one point?
I think I did. I think I almost killed her. I definitely got what's his name killed. One of the captains, not Captain Rayner or whatever, but
It
the
was
general.
Duke.
Yeah, General Duke. I got him nuked like. Oh man. Okay. So
That's why when you were playing earlier today, I literally was in the chat going like, "Hey, you might want to send an SCV to go repair Duke. He kind of needs to live."
yes. Okay. Maybe I won't talk about that point yet, but I'll talk about kind of how I got started in on this game. So I got started when I was probably like 11 years old in 6th grade. And basically, I had a computer teacher who played the game. And so, what he did for the students who completed their assignments quickly is that he would allow people to play LAN with him. He would play LAN with you, like with the students, and all the students would gang up on him. And we would try to beat him, but he was so good. So he would let us, he'd let us survive. We'd be building our little bases for like 15 to 20 minutes. And then he would come out of nowhere and just wipe us all out. We were like, and I'm like screaming over to my friends. I'm like, help me, he's killing me. And they're like, we don't know what to do. And so it was a fun experience.
It probably would have helped a bit more if you guys were more coordinated, probably.
Yeah, we weren't. We were new. We were just like, this is a fun game. We were just like enjoying video games. We had no idea. We didn't know our teacher was gonna destroy us like that. But yeah, he would let us go into lunch too. Like during the lunchtime, if he was in the classroom, he'd be like, yeah, you can, like if you want to land up, we can play. So it was kind of cool. It was like a really good memory, honestly. And that's how I kind of got started with StarCraft. Then I had some friends who really played it a lot, and I played it over at their house, but I don't think I ever owned the game. So I kind of always played it through other people. And this was like my first time that I actually got to like own the game, which was free, which was freaking awesome. Like you were saying earlier. And it's actually really nice because there's different options. Like, so we'll get into, I guess, the graphics a little bit because you prefer the old graphics, right?
So here's the thing. So for every like Resident Evil remake you get something that's got more like Fable Anniversary with how they do the human characters. Because in Fable Anniversary, the monsters and everything look amazing. The humans do not. And that's why I prefer the old, because if you compare, like, for instance, Raynor and Kerrigan aren't bad. It's just really annoying because you can clearly see their mouths don't line up with what is being said.
Yeah, what's up with that?
It's because so, and the other thing is that the old graphics had like a staticky filter over the pictures, which kind of lent more to the idea that these were over like something you'd probably see on like a wristwatch or something, like a comm image sort of thing, and that lended a bit more to that. Duke and Arcturus looked horrible compared to their originals. They just look off. And then you've got the person that the kind of like AI thing that's helping you. That one looks fine in the HD remaster, but yeah, I mainly prefer the HD remaster if you are not playing the Terran.
Okay, so as long as it's not the Terran, it's fine, pretty much.
Oh yeah, the Zerg looks amazing. It's literally just the human characters that look wrong.
Okay, so yeah, because when I was playing on stream, you came in and you're like, ugh, the HD graphics, like, and I was playing the Terran, you're like, just, and like, I almost felt like you wanted me to play the old graphics, but I was like, I kept on turning on the new ones because the what was appealing to me was the text was easier to read. So in the new version,
as soon as you said that, I'm like, you know what? That is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Makes it easier to read the stuff on it. And the HD remaster did give you the actual in-game timer. In the original graphics, you do not have that.
Okay.
It doesn't tell you how long you took until the like summary screen at the end of the mission.
Yeah, maybe it's not good to have that timer on, because once you realize you're in a game for 40 minutes, you're like, oh my gosh, like when am I gonna get like when am I gonna be done with this mission? But
I will say the units do look a lot better with the HD graphics. It's just the when you're doing the story mode and the images in like the mission briefings, those aren't really great at all.
Yeah, I think they could have, the whole like wristwatch effect that you were talking about, the calm thing. They probably could have put that back in, and it wouldn't have been a big issue. I don't know why they took that out.
Because with that little staticky filter like off, it made it very plainly abundant that their mouths weren't lining up with what was being said, and it kind of made them look a little wonky.
Yeah, they could have put that back in. I don't know why they got rid of it completely, but yeah, I wouldn't have minded that. It's kind of like Metal Gear Solid. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, that same effect. Yes, did I prefer the HD graphics? I think overall, because I didn't, I didn't have that same connection with like Kerrigan and Raynor, like in all these characters that are like, okay, they're supposed to look like this, and when you do change, they do change a lot. Like the way they look changes quite a bit. And I did kind of switch back and forth to see that. So
from what I gathered, they made it so that Raynor and Kerrigan lined up more with how they are in StarCraft 2.
Okay.
I think is what they did.
Yeah. And so there's also is it a remake version or something?
Which do you mean?
So there's like a remaster. There's one that you pay $15
So the
for.
the remaster, which is actually the HD graphics, is from the remaster. So I don't know why they're like, you pay this money, and I'm like, well, I ended up with it anyway, and it's like, well, okay. So I'm pretty sure that is the remaster.
Really? So
because that was the idea, was I was supposed to upgrade the graphics to it.
Okay. So are they just? That's so weird. Why would they make you pay?
They also have cartooned.
Oh, okay.
Cartooned.
I mean, I don't know about that. I don't know if I need cartoon.
They make the Zerglings look like little cartoon dogs.
Oh, that's goofy. That's silly. That's silly. That's a silly thing
they
to pay
literally
for.
lean. I know, they lean into the silliness, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, I feel like a mod could just do that. I don't know if I need to pay for that. Like, I feel like a modder could turn my Zergs into dogs or something.
And they also made it so that the Marines looked almost like the Among Us characters.
Oh, really?
With how they look, yeah.
Oh, well, that's funny. I mean, you know what? I'll give them props where it's due. They gave me the game for free and updated. And it's widescreen. Like, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
I cannot, like, Blizzard has made me mad a lot throughout the years. This was really cool of them to take this old game and be like, guys, you know what? We know it's old, and everybody loves it. Let's bring it back. You can have it for free. Here you go. And
I will say, while they did do that, when they originally were putting out StarCraft 2, they had it as 3 separate games.
Wait, what?
So there was 3 separate games. I don't remember what the Protoss one is called. Wings of Liberty, I think, is the Terran one, which is the one you get first. And then it's like Heart of the Swarm is the Zerg one.
And they make you buy each separate
Had you buy each one separately, but then they eventually bundled it together.
So
because I guess they realized people were annoyed with it.
Yeah, so in order to play the full game, to play the Protoss or the Zerg, you have to buy a separate game.
At least for the campaign. They had it so that the multiplayer is free. But in order to play the campaign, you had to pay for it.
I think it's a little greedy. How much were they? Do you know?
I do not remember how much they were originally. I personally now have the campaign for free because I have Xbox Game Pass and it's connected to my Battle.net account.
Okay. I mean, if you're talking about full game price for each one, like you're talking about $40 plus.
I think it wasn't 40. I think it was more like 20 a piece.
I think that's kind of okay. Only because people are probably going to hate me for that. Because it equals out to $60 total. Like you get the full game for $60. But I mean, it does feel bad.
You also have to remember StarCraft 2. The Terran one came out in like 2012 or something like that.
Like it came out.
The Terran one, like 2012, was the Wings of Liberty. The first one that they did for StarCraft 2 was like 2012.
They released them at different times.
Yeah, they weren't all released at once.
What do you see?
So you had to. So it's like, well, You
I don't
can't
know
play
about
all of them.
that. Yeah, I don't know about that. I think that's going to make people mad. They're going to be like, what is this? This is only like 1/3 of the game. Like, what am I doing here?
From what I know, they did kind of expand more, so the game is longer. But I haven't played StarCraft 2. I've only played the original.
Okay. Did you not like StarCraft 2?
Well, I also I one didn't have the money. Because when StarCraft 2 was coming out, what was funny was my dad ended up buying the second one, which was the Zerg one, before we even had the first one, and he never went around to buy the other two. So yeah, I never got around to it.
Okay. So, all right. I
I
guess
was
it's
still
just,
in high school when those were coming out.
yeah, I think when StarCraft 2 came out, maybe I just graduated. I might have been like 18 or something. I don't remember, but I do remember being around that age. So, and my friend liked it. He was like, "Oh yeah, it's really fun. Like I'm playing StarCraft 2," and he got to like diamond something or something online, and I just, I wasn't like I was doing other stuff at that time in my life, so I wasn't playing a lot of games, so I didn't really want to get super invested, but I
So StarCraft 2 came out 15 years ago. The original one for Wings of Liberty, which was the Terran one. Heart of the Swarm was 2013, and Legacy of the Void was the Protoss one in 2015.
oh, then it came out after I wasn't 18. I must have been like 20 something, 20 like 2 or 3 or no, 21, something like that. Not 18 though. Okay, interesting. So, yeah, I never played it. Maybe that won't be a retro game, so I won't probably play it for the podcast. But I do have friends who kind of play once in a while. I think a lot of people prefer Brood War, though. A lot of people prefer Brood War. And it seems like
Brood War was a great expansion. Not to mention it had all 3 episodes in one game.
right. So I'm gonna ask you a couple of fun questions, and you kind of already hinted at this during the podcast. But who's your favorite race and why?
The Terrans. I always geared more towards the Terrans. The Zerg pissed me off to no end. Um, partially because of my sister's doing. The Protoss I always thought were interesting, but they were more of a nuisance to try to figure out how to play. And I was on the younger side when I was originally playing these games. Not to mention the Terrans had nukes. um,
Yes.
so when you have access to nukes, that's always fun.
Yeah, I only used it a little bit this time around, the nukes, but they seem like they can be pretty OP if you use them right.
They can be.
As long as they don't have like anti-stealth units that will take out those little assassin guys, whatever they're called.
Ghosts.
Yes,
They're
the
called
ghosts. And if they get detected, they're very squishy. But if they don't get detected, you can like go and nuke somebody's town and wreck it.
Like for instance, the last mission that you were playing, where you kept dying to those turrets that were right outside your base. What I'd do was I'd upgrade all the stuff. So, like for instance, have it so that one of the upgrades you could do for the ghosts is to upgrade their line of sight, which makes it so you can slightly do nukes from farther away.
Okay.
So I'd nuke missile turrets.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, that works. I mean, that would, what sounds like a good strategy. Maybe it's not, but like if you nuked those missile turrets and you just sent like an air like all those cloaked wraiths
all
in.
The wraiths.
Yeah, that would be probably pretty good, huh? Like I think that might work out. I don't really know, but I did like the nukes. I think they're pretty cool. I don't know how the other races play. I remember when I was younger, I played Protoss a bit, but I've only played Terran this week, and it was the Terrans seem like they're pretty straightforward once you learn how to play them. But
so I noticed we're not using stim packs.
No, I'm kind of adverse.
So stim packs are your best friends against the Zerg.
They're really good
because what they do is they make it so that you shoot a lot faster and up your rate of fire. So when you have a horde of Zerglings coming towards you, taking that 10-point hit just to use the stim pack, you'll knock them out before they get anywhere near you.
Okay. Yeah, I was adverse to them because they took my health away. I was like, I don't like that. I was like, I don't want to.
So we haven't really gotten into it, but Brood War adds units to each race. And let me just say that for Terrans get a lot better and a lot nastier. Because having hordes of Marines and Firebats with a row of medics behind them, because Brood War adds the medics to heal them.
Oh, yeah. I was wondering where the
And
medics
all of
were.
them having stim packs. So you take the 10-point hit, heal them, and they're still going crazy with the shots.
Okay. Wow. All right. And yeah, and they can shoot stuff out of the air, so they're pretty good.
Yes. Because some of the other, like Protoss, like the main Templar units for the Protoss can't attack anything from the air. Zerg, obviously, Zerglings can't attack anything in the air. The Hydralisks can, and so can like the Mutalisks, but that's about it. So a race having something where they're able to shoot and hit everything from the air when it's a decent, like it's their main unit, is pretty useful.
Yes, and when they're upgraded, they're pretty strong too. Like they're
They
not
are
bad.
incredibly strong.
I noticed that. I like wanted to upgrade them. Like once I realized how strong they were with upgrades, I was like, this is like my favorite unit. I think like I like these little army guys. The siege tanks are cool, but I don't like the fact that you have to like plant them and unplant them and plant them and unplant them. I don't really like that mechanic.
So here's the thing: is what I find dumb about the siege tanks is you have to research the siege ability for the siege tanks.
Yeah, and so like they're just kind of normal tanks unless you do that. They don't
Yep.
really, and they're not really that tanky. They're kind of squishy, in my opinion.
They can be. If they are very good from bombardment. So basically, the idea is you plant them up on like one of the raised parts of the level, plant them there, and if anything comes along, they've got decent range on that thing, and they can hit pretty hard.
Yeah, if I plant them as siege weapons, it seems like they're pretty good. Like especially like you said, if they're on the upper level, and then they kind of just rain down onto the lower levels. That seemed to be kind of the strategy with those guys. Um, yeah, I didn't like having to like undo them. Like okay, you like unplant them, and then they travel together, and then when you do the control click, it only selects the ones that are sieged or versus the ones that are not sieged. So you have to kind of like I don't know, get them all kind of grouped. I don't know, working
So,
together.
so here's the thing: you never tried it out, but where you hit the control and the number key, you could then have grouped all your siege tanks into one group and just make it so you just had to hit like one in order to pull them all up again.
You know, it's funny. I kept hitting Control 1, and then I kept forgetting to use it. Like, that happened to me, like, ton of times. So I'm like, okay, this time, I'm gonna use Control 1, and then I, like, do it, and then I forget. So,
Yeah, no, I didn't remember any of the hotkeys until I was in the last two missions of the Terran episode. And then I'm like, oh wait, I can hit control and then I can number my hordes. Okay.
yeah,
It's very useful when you have hordes of Zerglings when you're having to do the Zerg episode.
if you're not an RTS player, the game is pretty overwhelming in the first, like, 5 missions, I would say. You're like trying to figure out your units. You're trying to controlling your units is like a whole thing. That's like a whole mechanic of the game.
I will say it probably would have helped that you not skip through the tutorial stuff at the beginning. Because you kept like fast forwarding through things.
Oh, was I did do the tutorial though, right? I think
You did do the tutorial level, but you also weren't paying attention to when the writing would pop up on the screen. Like, for instance, it told you that you could repair vultures and mechanical stuff, but then you seemingly forgot about it, and then me and someone else in the chat were like, hey, go repair that unit. You can use your SCV to repair it.
Yeah, I forgot a lot. Like, well, for me, it was just a lot of information. Like, it was kind of like...
it is a lot of information.
It was kind of an information overload a little bit for me.
The thing with RTS games in general is that they can be a bit overwhelming with with trying to figure out all the different units, which one thing StarCraft does do very well is the fact that it does have that full campaign. and you're sitting there and it slowly introduces each of the different units. Like, you aren't given access to all of them at the beginning. It's like, here's your Marine guy. They go shoot this person.
Yeah. I mean, they had to kind of design it that way because of how much there is. And I wasn't even in Brood War, and I still was like, wow, there's a lot, you know?
So what did you think about the campaign story?
Oh, the story? So the story is, I feel like it's a little surface level because I've only did the Terran, but it's interesting because I think it has a lot of potential, and maybe it gets really interesting in Brood War because I know Kerrigan kind of has this whole thing where she gets captured by the Zerg and she turns into like the super Zerg and she's like the crazy or whatever. But I it's kind of like it's based on my first impressions, it's like there's three factions. You have like the Protoss who are trying to eradicate the Zerg, and they kind of act like, if you're familiar with Halo, it took a lot of influence from this game. They kind of act as the Covenant in Halo. And then there's also the Zerg, which act very, very similar to the Flood, because the Flood in Halo have a hive mind or whatever, and these guys have an overmind as well. And then you have, and the Zerg are just basically hell-bent on taking over, like just reproducing and taking over the world, every world, not just one world. And then the Terran, they kind of have, they're like the human race, and they have like this civil war in the beginning. And you guys are, you end up joining the rebels as Reynard, and Kerrigan's already on their team, I think. And then it's interesting. I think it's interesting, and I think it was getting more interesting as I was going along. And I really wanted to kind of see what the Protoss were all about, I wanted to see what...
Fun fact is that, so each episode you're controlling something, but officially only one of the characters you technically play as the person controlling everything has a name, and it's the one from the Protoss episode.
Wait,
because you're just known as episode 1. You're literally just called the magistrate or commander, but the player character isn't given a name.
Okay.
And the Zerg, you're called a Cerebrit, so you're also still not given a name. You're just called Cerebrit. You're referred to as Executor in the Protoss, but the character actually has a name. It's like Artanis or something like that. He's the only one who actually has a name.
Okay, so you're actually playing a character instead of just the player, kind of, in a weird way.
Yes.
Yeah, the Protoss are kind of cool, but they're not, unlike the Covenant, it seems like they don't like hate the humans. They're not like invading the humans. They're more or less just trying to erase the Zerg, from what you guys were telling me.
The Zerg, I'd say, are like the Flood, like you said, where it's like that hive mind, but I'd also slightly compare them to the Borg from Star Trek. Because while they're not robotic or cyborgs, they kind of try to assimilate in a way, like what they do to Kerrigan, to get her into the hive mind and everything like that.
Okay. Do the Flood do that? I think they do. I think they do to some degree, but I don't remember exactly. Yeah, I didn't watch Star Trek though, so I've heard that name that you just said though. I've heard it before.
You probably had. They're pretty They're pretty well known, even outside of everything. And then I discovered recently there was a StarCraft books.
Yeah, and those are kind of popular, aren't they?
I might have just ordered a copy of the book that has like 4 of the stories in it.
Okay. Yeah, let me know how they are, because I've heard they're pretty decent.
So, what surprised me was, I'm a big fan of the Dragonlance Chronicles, and Tracy Hickman actually wrote one of the StarCraft books, and he was one of the writers for the Dragonlance Chronicles.
Okay, they do have different writers though, right? Each one has kind of different writer. Okay, so that would be... Go ahead.
The one I was most interested in was the one that's about Kerrigan's backstory from before episode 1 of StarCraft, before the Terran episode.
Okay, kind of like how she got to the rebels and how she's doing, like why she's there.
How that happened. Yep.
Okay, yeah, that would be interesting, because she seems like she's pretty. She has psychic abilities due to the Confederates message, like, I guess, experiments or something.
I think she technically was a telepath, but she got pulled into the ghost program experiments,
Okay,
sort of thing.
so she had a natural ability, and then they kind of just took advantage of it. Maybe even enhanced it. Maybe, I don't know.
It's hard to tell at times.
Yeah, you might know through that book though. But she's a very
Maybe.
popular character, and one of my friends was like, "Ooh, like I love Kerrigan's voice." Like they, for some reason, they love her voice. I guess maybe they find it attractive or something. But she's a very very popular character. Kerrigan is. I was on another podcast.
She was easily one of the more fleshed out ones. Her and Raynor are definitely the two most fleshed out characters in StarCraft.
Yeah, and I could see why Reynard's popular. He's kind of like, he's kind of like the hero character, and he's always sticking up for what's right, and he's always and he's strong, and he's strong-willed and stuff. So I get why he's popular, and so is Kerrigan. She's kind of similar. I will say though, I didn't really. I kind of said it like this last stream. I was like, man, Kerrigan's simping hard for the guy of the Sons of Korhal, the leader of that faction. Like, she's like, oh, I just do whatever he says. He's always right. I'm like, come on, Kerrigan, come on, dude. Like, he's wrong. Like, he's wrong right here, I think. And you're just kind of like falling over for him. But, I'm
guessing the book will probably explain something.
Probably. And eventually she turns into, spoiler alert, but everybody knows, when they think of Kerrigan, they usually don't think of her human form, I think. When I thought of Kerrigan, I usually thought of her Zerg form, which later on happens in Brute.
She's called the Queen of Blades. So she actually gets pulled into the Zerg. Do you care for spoilers?
No, please, go ahead. No.
Okay. So the episode that you ended on, that mission you ended on, was actually the one where Kerrigan was going to get caught by the Zerg.
Okay.
So the base gets overrun at the end of that mission. Raynor's like, we got to go help because she's calling for an evac, and then Mengsk's like, no, we're pulling out, and basically left the base to die. And in episode 2 with the Zerg is where she is in a chrysalis sort of thing, and part of the intro to the Zerg missions is that the chrysalis is emanating psychic energies, and it's basically her calling out to Raynor and Arcturus and whatnot until eventually she emerges from this chrysalis thing and is the Zerg Kerrigan. She's just referred to as infested Kerrigan up until I think she's called that until Brood War is when she actually gets her name.
And what is it in
Queen of Blades.
Queen of Blades. That's right, you said that.
That's what she eventually becomes known as, and that's what she's known as in literally everything else. Heart of the Form, she still referred to that.
I see why you like this game, because it's like Jack of Blades, Queen of Blades, like you just like blade. Just like of blades. No, yeah, that's cool though. I do know that she's very strong. And is she like a general in the Zerg army at that point?
In the Zerg episode, she becomes it. She becomes one of the Overmind's most powerful agents. And then, once again, do you care for spoilers?
No, I don't mind.
Okay. The end of the Protoss episode, I believe it is. So episode 3 ends with the Overmind dying. Okay. And so in Brood Wars, when she's starting to take over the Zerg.
Okay, I thought she was going to become the leader at some point. I just didn't know how that happened. It's
Brood War that does it.
Okay, got it. And then she becomes the leader of the Zerg, and then she's like crazy strong and everything. And she can fly around and telepath and do energy waves and all kinds of stuff. Now, what was your very first reaction when you saw a Zerg rush swarm your base, and how did you adapt?
Are we talking about like when I originally was playing it, or when I came back to playing the game?
When you originally played it.
Well, usually the Zerg rush was my sisters, so usually I would sit there and yell at them. Typically, my dad then would come and rescue me, and then he gave me some ideas for how to combat them, which was bunkers with the Marines and fire bats also are really good against the Zerg. With their stim pack upgrade, because that can stop them from easily rushing. Toss in a few battle cruisers for good measure.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't like the Zerg. I will never like the Zerg. I know other
Yeah,
people like them. They're too much chaos for me. I can't deal with too much chaos.
I kind of like them thematically, I think, but I don't know. Like,
Thematically, they're great.
yeah, I don't know how they're gonna play yet, so I don't know if I'll like them or not. I was just getting used to the Terran, like just starting to get used to it. So,
I feel
um,
like I should totally show you this meme I found, which is a pie chart of StarCraft army size comparison per race.
okay,
And it's like the Terran and the Protoss have like a little more than a fourth of the pie chart, and the rest is just the Zerg because the Zerg get the numbers.
okay, so you just spam like weaker enemies, basically.
Yeah, so a horde of Zerglings, especially if the Zerglings have all of their upgrades, can be very dangerous. And
Okay,
that's the cheapest one because you are basically because the Zerg have the eggs. So Zerg, their main like drawback is whereas the Terran you can like line up 5 things to build in a row.
yeah.
The Zerg only get like 3 of these larva things that spawn into the egg. So you only can build like 3 units at a time. Unless it's Zerglings. Then you can build 6 at a time because each egg gets 2 Zerglings.
Okay. I did. The people use the Zerglings to scout a lot, right? Is that like a common
Yes,
strategy?
because they are cheap units and you get 2 of them for every egg you use.
Okay, and they just send them out to basically like on a suicide mission.
I
Okay.
will say the thing I do like better about the Zerg than the Terrans is that it's the overlords. I prefer the overlords to actually the pylons or the supply depots because you upgrade your overlords, they become your drop ships, your mobile science vessels. They are great scouts because their upgrade makes them go zoom zoom fast everywhere.
They're just like big giant flying brains, right?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah,
And
I
so
remember them.
but then they also act as your supply depots. So it's like it's never a bad thing to have too many of them. Whereas the supply depots and the pylons take up space, the overlords you can move around as you go.
Okay. So they have a little bit more capabilities than like a normal dropship.
Yes. So the overlords, as mentioned, once you have the ability to upgrade them, you can make them dropships. They can carry a bunch of your units. Um, they act as science vessels, or technically, in a way, kind of what the turrets do, which is a detector. So any cloaked vessels or anyone who is cloaked will magically appear out of thin air. And they're your supply depots essentially.
Okay. They act as a lot. They do a lot. That's like kind of a lot of
Yeah.
stuff. Um,
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I actually don't mind the overlords. The overlords are probably the better thing in for the Zerg that they have compared to the other races.
this kind of goes into the next question. Actually, I was going to ask you, if you could pick one unit from each race, Terran, Zerg, and Protoss, to build your dream army, which ones would you choose?
Ooh. Okay, so the Protoss would be this. They have this caterpillar unit that is great for destroying Zerglings, by the way, because it has. So the Protoss have a lot of units that do splash damage. So basically, they shoot off something, and like it'll be like a bomb going off. Overlords, for the Zerg, and then Terrans, I do the Marines.
Okay, and have the perfect little army there.
Yeah, because the overlords would be able to act as science vessels, so I wouldn't really need too much of the science vessel. The splash damage would be good for the little itty bitty units, and then the Marines are good for the aerial stuff.
Yeah, that sounds like a pretty good little strategy. I mean, from what you were telling me about the whole Zerg thing, it sounds like that's like a perfect unit, to be honest. Did the caterpillar thing? I don't think I've ran into that yet. I'm not sure if I've ran into that
Probably
yet.
not. I think, run into them more in the Zerg one. Oh, I think they're called Reaver. Are they the Reavers? Yes, they're the Reavers.
Okay. maybe I'll look up a picture. Which StarCraft campaign mission gave you the biggest adrenaline rush, or maybe was the most difficult? And what was your strategy to conquer it?
So let's see. The one that gives me the biggest rush easily is actually the one you ended on, which is the second to last Terran mission. I wish you could have seen what happens at the end, because you actually watch the Zerg completely take over everything.
Okay.
You actually see the swarm of Zerglings. You got the Hydralisks, the Mutalisks, the Ultralisks, because they have access to those, just coming in swarms. And the trick to that episode, by the way, there's another little, because that mission is like, you can't kill the Zerg buildings. You have to leave them where they are and deal with the Zerg as they pop up. But the trick is to literally just go with a mob of battle cruisers and just go take out the Protoss that way. But yeah, that rush of seeing all those Zerg just swarm your base, it's insane.
Yeah, I only got a little bit of taste of that I think it was the third mission, the 30-minute one, where like at the end, so like you're good up until like the 28-minute mark or something, and then all of a sudden, like the last minute or something, they send just a bunch of Zerg into your base, and you're like, oh no! Like, and you're supposed to survive.
You barely survived that.
I barely survived. I was like, no! And
so imagine that, but dial it up a lot.
Yeah, that would be cool to see.
A lot.
I almost you want to know how I lost that mission? So my stream died like 3/4 of the way into that mission. I actually ended up playing another like 10 to 15 minutes because my internet sucks, so sometimes it happens, and I couldn't get it back on. So I just tried to play the mission out, and the way I lost that mission, and this sucks so bad. One of my siege tanks was placed at the edge of my base so that they could kill the incoming Zerglings, but because it was
Did they kill the building?
It was implanted into the ground, so it in the reach is so far, so it killed the building, and I lost. I killed one Zerg building on accident.
So the trick to that mission was I didn't rely on the siege tanks. I actually relied a lot on my smaller units to save the resources for the battle cruisers to go wipe out the Protoss. So you weren't utilizing bunkers a whole lot. And
no,
bunkers are your best friend. Basically, what I did for that mission was line everything with the turrets. And then I placed bunkers like everywhere and fill them with Marines. Because the bunkers you can repair or replace if they get destroyed, and they protect your units. Like, your units don't take any damage while they're in there. So there also was another mineral cluster nearby, and to the southwest of where you start. Southeast is where the Protoss is. Southwest would have taken you to like another mineral cluster you would have been able to use.
Yeah. I ran out of minerals, and I replanted my base like really far away to get some more. And the mission was going fine, and I would have won, I think, if I just didn't kill that stupid base. Like, I was almost done. Like, I pretty much had killed the entire Protoss base. I just couldn't find like the last itty bitty bit of them or wherever they were. And
that's usually how it goes.
Yeah, that is usually how it goes. So we're gonna go into that because that's one of my gripes. Is that so? One of my I do the good, the bad, and the in between. One of my bad points was that so in these missions, if you don't kill every single last building or unit, you don't complete the mission. So sometimes these units, I guess, are like kind of, huh?
Well, so there are missions like that, but then there are some that aren't. There is I'm currently playing through the Zerg campaign episode, and there is one where it's literally just destroy the command center and nothing, and you don't have to destroy anything else.
And that's what it should have been. There should have been okay, there's 2 command centers, or there's a command center, and if you kill that, or you kill 90, if you kill 90% of the stuff, you're good. I think but it makes you go find every single last little tiny building, and so you're just running around where is this little belt? That was my experience.
It would have been probably better if you had basically just taken because you were running around with your ground units doing that, your race would have moved so much faster.
Yeah, and before you just said that, I even thought about it. Like, yeah, race would have been better, but I'm a noob, and so I'm doing stuff completely the wrong way. And yeah, it was it was rough, man. I was like, where am I looking? But and so a mission that might take you only 30 minutes could take you 40 because you're looking for like these last units or whatever. If you're
Last little turrets.
Yeah, there's like
That's what we were looking for.
one little turret in the corner that just happened to live, and it's like, but you got to kill it. So in the battle of memorable quotes, which line from Jim Raynor, Sarah Kerrigan, or Tassadar is your favorite of all time?
Ooh. Well, I can't remember the exact quotes, but I will say Kerrigan gets very sassy when she pops up in the second episode. Like, Zerg Kerrigan is super sassy. She's literally like, "What is it now?" and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Though episode 2 does have, I do like the interactions between Sarah and Raynor. Because when Kerrigan pops out of the chrysalis, Raynor's you're basically trying to like beat up Raynor on that mission. And he's like, "Kerrigan, what have they done to you?" And then actually this is where it teaches you about the infesting command center ability. I decided to infest the command center instead of destroying it because that would have been fun. And this actually goes into the mission where it's like you just have to destroy the command center, and it's Raynor's command center that you're destroying. And there's an interaction between him and Sarah after you either infest the command center or destroy it, where he's like, "What are you going to do now? Kill me?" Because he's like, "I heard you calling out to me. I saw you in my dreams." And she's like, I did at first do that sort of thing. And I certainly have the power to kill you now, but I'm going to let you take your forces and leave. So you kind of get a hint of the old relationship between him and Kerrigan from episode 1 and how they were in their interactions then.
Okay.
And how it's kind of shifted around a little bit. So that interaction between the two is actually probably one of my favorites.
So she has a tiny, tiny bit of her humanity still in there, like a little bit.
Yes.
It's not much,
Just
probably,
a little bit.
but just a tiny enough to let him live. Because I would assume that she's just pure evil, and that's she's gonna kill everything, and she probably does for the most part. So,
for the most part,
imagine a StarCraft crossover. Which other Blizzard hero would you make would make the best cameo in a future expansion, or like if they put him in the game?
Well, here's the thing. I don't actually play a lot of Blizzard games aside from StarCraft. Hold on. What StarCraft stuff is there? Let me look real quick.
Oh, Blizzard stuff? I mean, you got World of Warcraft. You got Warcraft 3. You got Overwatch. You have... what else is there? Diablo.
I feel like an Overwatch character would probably fit in best in the world of StarCraft or Doom. They also have the Doom Dark Ages that just came out.
Okay, yeah, maybe Doom. You know what character I would choose? I think I would choose Junkrat from Overwatch. Just he'd be like a Terran unit that just like shoots grenades or something. That'd be kind of interesting.
I'm like, Overwatch characters probably would be the ones most easily able to potentially cross over into StarCraft.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like many of the Warcraft characters are like kind of like magic and stuff, and I mean they're
fantasy.
Yeah, and I guess the Protoss are more like science, I guess, than magic. But
yeah, so they do have their fancy shields.
The telepaths are kind of magic, but they're not like it's not like magic. So, all right. Did you play custom maps?
I don't think I did. I never really played the custom maps. We always, no, I think we might have done a few. I think my dad created a few different ones for us to mess around on when we were playing it with us. And like, actually, StarCraft's the reason why one of the reasons my dad hooked up the Wi-Fi. He got tired of the Ethernet cables everywhere.
Yeah, right. Probably just all over the house.
Yep, actually, all in one room because we had to be close to where the Ethernet connected to the internet. So there was like the two computers and two long cords going out to laptops.
That's awesome. That reminds me of doing LAN back in the day. I did a lot. I didn't really do StarCraft LAN, but I did some Warcraft 3, and it was a lot of fun. And Warcraft 3 is pretty much the only RTS I ever really played back then. I'm not, I'm still not good at it. But yeah, it was. I played custom maps though on Warcraft 3, and I remember like one where you're like a horse and you're like running away from a monster, and then I remember like one where it's like a tower defense, and then there was one called Hero Line, and I bet they have this in StarCraft 2 probably as well.
Probably.
Not StarCraft 2, but like StarCraft as well.
You're
Where it's like you choose a hero character and then you send enemy units at the enemy, and it's like you don't want the enemy units to get through your bait to your warp gate or whatever, so you have to like kill the enemy units with your hero unit. So I could, I wonder if they had that in StarCraft. I bet there was about a lot of overlap. I bet.
Wait, were you saying that it was like you had to protect like a warp point sort of thing from the enemy?
Yes. Yeah, kind of. So you had like
I think that actually is a mission in StarCraft. I think that it's a Zerg mission where you have to defend 4 beacons from the Protoss army.
Okay, yeah, then that's probably maybe that's where they got the idea, but yeah, that's kind of like the whole premise. And it was really fun. It's really fun. I played a lot of those custom maps on Warcraft 3. I bet they would be fun on StarCraft. And I know a lot of people have good memories from the custom maps. Some people exclusively played custom maps, like that's all they played. So I would like to hear some, like maybe some of those. Maybe if I can get some people to comment on this episode, what's your favorite custom map? Tell me about it.
I think you would have had fun with the multiplayer mode, though. Though you probably would have been annihilated by the computer.
I would have gotten destroyed. If I played multiplayer, I would have to do it like probably co-op or have like a really strong NPC on my team.
We could have done teams or something.
Yeah, I would have to do it one way or another like that, because there's no way I would be like building super slow. I'd be like, what am I doing? Like, oh, I'm like, I guess I should build this, and like I kind of just improvise when I'm playing. I don't really have any real strategy. So, if you could give advice to new StarCraft players about mastering micro and macro, what would it be?
Micro and macro. My brain is like, what is that?
Oh, I guess just like maybe the hotkeys versus I guess any advice. It doesn't even have to be micro or macro.
So here's the thing about the hotkeys is that for the most part, a lot of like the hotkeys that just hit the building buttons, you actually don't really need, because like you saw me on my stream, even before I figured out what the hotkeys was, it was quicker for me to just go zipping across the map than to like click or to like and it was quicker for me to select units that way, or to just select one unit. I could easily just click on them and hit the build button without having to mess with anything else, and it helped a lot with memory. The only hotkey I typically use is the control plus the number key to make groups, because it's simpler that way. And I think that might have been part of your issue, was you were wanting to learn so much you wanted to like remember all the hotkeys, that some stuff kind of got a little scrambled in what you were trying to do. Like you kept having to check mission objectives and stuff like that. So the hotkeys can be useful, but like the smaller ones, so it's actually quicker to select a group and right mouse click on something to get them to attack it than it is to actually hit the attack hotkey.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, more you know. I just remember seeing like StarCraft Pro players, and their screen is just like flipping all over the place, and they're just like, they have like this super high APM where it's just they're just pressing stuff. It's like I don't even know what they're doing. There's like
so a few of the hotkeys are useful. Like for instance, the one I mentioned, the control and the number to number the groups, because then you can just remember 1, 2, 3, 4 sort of thing. There is one that you can have it like remember a specific point. I don't remember what it is, but you basically hit a button and you can make it so that you can just jump back. So, for instance, if you put it at the heart of your base and you're taking units out, you can hit a button and just go pop right back to the heart of your base, sort of thing.
Oh, okay.
But some of the hotkeys are better than others. But the small ones for like attack, stopping, repair, building, those ones you don't really need.
Okay, gotcha. All right. So I wanted to go into the good, the bad, the in between. We already talked a little bit about some of this stuff. We'll probably reiterate about reiterate some of it as well. There is a lot of good to this game, and there were a few things that I maybe it's because mad because bad. Wobbeart likes to quote me on that. He I guess he uses that all the time now, which is funny. Because I there are certain things that if you're just better that they won't be a problem. But for me, who's a new kind of RTS player, there are some issues. So one thing I want to say about the good stuff is that the music. I really liked the music in this game.
The sound effects for this game are amazing. Like the sound in general.
Yes, I agree. I think the sound is really good. I think the music's great. It kind of gave me, funny enough, this is going to sound weird, but it kind of gave me Final Fantasy vibes at certain points. And
I feel like at this point you just compare everything to Final Fantasy. Yeah,
at this point, literally everything is Final Fantasy. You know how everyone, there's a joke that everything is like a Metrovania or like, I can't remember what the other genre is, but it's like, yeah, everything's a Metroidvania. I guess everything's Final Fantasy to me. But it's like, I don't know why I compare Final Fantasy, because I think the reason I do that is because Final Fantasy is kind of a gold standard for me. Like specifically like 7 is kind of like a gold standard of gaming. So I do compare, like that's kind of like where I get a lot of contrast, and a lot of people know the game. Like a lot of people know what Final Fantasy 7 is, or they've played it. So it's like an easy contrast. But yeah, everything's Final Fantasy 7. But yeah, the music is great. I like the music a lot. It was very fun. It was very kind of it wasn't like real. I guess it can be a little scary at times, but it's not like real scary. It's got a little bit of, I want to say it's like guitar in there, and it sounds kind of electric at certain points, but it's pretty cool, I would say. And I really enjoyed it. And I actually, these are one of those games that I would turn up the music and play. If it wasn't for streaming,
just listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah, I totally would. I would listen to the soundtrack of this game, because a lot of games it's just kind of like elevator music, and you're like, okay, well, whatever. Like, I don't really care about this. But yeah, the music is actually really good in this. And do you have like a favorite soundtrack from this, or?
Not particularly. I personally, all the stages kind of have like a very similar, like sort of vibe with how the soundtrack is. A lot of the sound effects are fun. Like for the Terrans, you hear the guys making their comments, going like ready to roll out and stuff like that are said by the little units.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
The Zerg gets a little annoying because theirs like really screechy, but that's my only downside to the sound effects and sound in the game.
With the Terran, I just remember like rollout and like they kept on repeating the same thing.
Or battlecruiser armed and operational. You didn't get to that one yet.
Yeah, I didn't get to that one. Yeah, it mostly when you're moving the units that like it gets a little repetitive if you're just moving the same units around the map.
Here's the other thing: if you're fighting against the Terran, you can actually tell it. Because of how good the sound design is, you have to pay attention and listen, but you can actually tell when your opponent has stim packs.
Really?
Because there's a sound effect that plays when you use them.
Oh, so that could be a strategy.
You can hear it when your opponent uses them.
Interesting. Okay, that's an interesting thing. Like, yeah, the sound is good. I like the gunshot sounds. I like the dying sounds. I like all of it was pretty good. I would say. I think it's what the sound was really well made in this game, and yeah, I don't really have much else to say about it, but it was good. The one of the bad points I had was the timed missions, and we kind of mentioned this a little bit, but there's like there's only specifically one that I did that's like specifically timed, and it's like you have to wait 30
I
minutes.
think that one is the longest of the timed missions. The Zerg I know have one, but theirs technically is you have the time. It's only timed for part of it. You have like 10 minutes. You have to wait 10 minutes and then go destroy the command center.
Yeah.
Actually, it's the mission that I've mentioned before where Kerrigan is in the chrysalis. You have to wait 10 minutes until she gets out of the chrysalis, and then you go continue with the rest of the mission.
Yeah, and I guess so the time mission is I don't really know if I've ever been a fan of time mission, especially ones that are longer. Like if you're talking about 10-minute thing, okay, I get whatever. I guess we can do that. Like something that's 30 minutes is a little too long. I mean, but to be fair, as a noob, most of my missions took over 30 minutes anyways. But that's also another gripe of mine is that the missions are that it's just kind of how the game works, right? You kind of have to like take time to build up a base. The missions are really long sometimes. Like
yeah, no. You've heard me say it once. I will say it again. 4 hours for the last 2 missions of the Terran for me.
Yeah, and so that's just like what I think one way to get around it, and they kind of do this with the new, I don't know if this was in the old game, but they have a slider that you can speed up the game just a little bit. It's like maybe one.
I don't remember. I haven't looked actually when I pull up the game because I haven't really messed with that. I forgot that was the thing. But the problem is when you speed up your stuff, you also speed up your opponents.
Yes.
So that is an issue.
It is an issue. So it's kind of a it's a sweet and bitter thing. If you know what you're doing, you're gonna want a faster game speed. If you're like me, you might not want to, but I did it anyways because I hate how long units take to build and stuff. And yeah, there's probably stuff I could be doing in between, and I should be learning that. But I just wanted things to go by a little bit faster. Like I always wanted it to kind of speed up a little bit. So I guess I'm just impatient, like I kind of have like ADHD or whatever, and I'm just like, oh, come on, just I have all these Terran units, just get out. Like you guys get out. I want you to go fight the other stuff, and maybe I would like the Zerg because like maybe I can just spit out Zerglings or something. But
well, here's the nice thing about Zerglings is that you do get 2 for each egg, so you can make 6 as opposed to only 3 of any other units. So if you're low on units, they are the quickest thing to turn out.
Yeah, so Zerglings, I mean, not Zerglings. So there was just kind of this whole, like the missions took a long time. It took a long time to get to the point where you needed to get to. But I understand why. It's a game that builds up with momentum.
And you're supposed to sit there and actually think about your choices.
Yeah, and you're supposed to think, and I had the same issue with like League of Legends. I played a lot of League of Legends back in the day, and the games, like, you'd be trapped in a game for like 45 minutes sometimes or 50 minutes, and you're like, dude, I just want this game to end. Like, I want to be done with it. Like, I want to go on to the next game. Because it's just like it can get overwhelming for, or something. Like, it just gets drawn out. But I think with these types of games, they kind of have to be that way. I don't know if, you have to have that slow build up in the beginning, and then you kind of maybe if you gathered resources a little faster. Maybe if that.
Here's the thing with that is that I believe just about every map has it, so you can go find another cluster of minerals and Vespian gas that is not guarded by anything, and you can actually make a secondary base.
Yeah, but it does take resources to make that base, right?
Yes. However, you then get it like 10 times quicker. You then can harvest things 10 times quicker.
Yeah. And so, I wasn't really utilizing like the expos. They're called expos, I guess. I wasn't really utilizing expos as much as I should. But I wish and maybe that's the strategy, right? You have to go do that to make the game go faster. But as a noob, I was like, man, these guys, like, I'm just waiting on crystals and stuff. And I'm like, man, or waiting on a gas or something. But yeah, maybe I should have done that more often. But it was as a newbie, and I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but it was a little slow for me. One of the good points is that, and we already talked a little bit about this, but the story started to get really interesting, and there was I think that it was. I hear this often that it's one of those titles that was not taken fully advantage of by Blizzard, and they could have really done a lot with this story. Like they could. So like you know how they did the Warcraft movie. Like imagine if they did
Yes.
like a StarCraft movie. I bet it would do really well.
I think a StarCraft movie would also probably just be better to do overall if you had to compare different movies to do. Especially since you could probably just do one based off the Terrans, because for the Terrans, you're not even really going up against, like, if you had them fighting the Zerg, you'd be doing basically a lot of CGI, obviously, for Zergs and stuff like that. But if you did just the Terrans, you probably would have an easier time.
Yeah, I mean, because there is, there's like technically three whole storylines. So like maybe if you just focused on the Terran perspective, it'd probably work. But I think this is one of those franchises that is just very underutilized, and that they could have done a lot more with. And I think that like it kind of reminds me of Warhammer 2. Like it kind of reminds me of that Warhammer. What is it, 40K or something?
It is 40K, and if I remember correctly, the Terrans are based off of the Space Marines.
Yeah, and so you totally get that feeling. It's very Warhammery, and I think it just would be really cool to see like more Warcraft lore, or not Warcraft, sorry, StarCraft lore, and the Terran, even just the Terran campaign that I did started to get interesting. Like it started out kind of basic and surface level, but then it's just started
You
getting more.
started into a like Civil War and everything, and now you're using these society emitters to send the Zerg after people and everything like that. And it picks up a lot of steam.
Yes, and they're like experimenting on the Zerg, and you're like, oh, what's going on with that? And like, it's kind of cool. And then like General Duke is your enemy, but then he becomes your friend, and then like he's like now on your side. And General Duke seems like one of those guys who's just like all for himself. He doesn't really care about anyone
He
else.
kind of is. You didn't get to the last Terran mission, so it becomes the Terran Dominion, not the Terran Confederacy. Is what Menk's group eventually becomes known as. He's the Sons of Korhal guy. So after Kerrigan gets basically, Raynor thinks she's dead, obviously. So he leaves and he starts his own like little mini faction of Terrans, and they're officially known as Raynor's Raiders, is what they're called. And they're kind of like they're off by themselves sort of thing.
Okay, so Raynor just like gets away from them completely.
Yes. Of course, he does have interactions with Kerrigan, and I think a big part of StarCraft 2 eventually becomes like he's trying to get Kerrigan back from the Zerg sort of thing.
Okay, like trying to get her mind back and everything, and okay.
I think that was a big part of like StarCraft 2, because I remember I played the first little bit of Heart of the Swarm, and I was like, why is Kerrigan here?
Yeah, Manx seems kind of like a bastard, kind of like General Duke is. Like they're
Yeah, they deserve each other. Match made in heaven.
Yeah, they're both horrible people. And that's why I was mad at Kerrigan for simping for Manx, because I was like, what? This guy's wrong. Like,
yeah, but if you paid attention to what Raynor was saying, he was talking about how Manx basically saved her, and she feels like she owes him, is the idea.
Yeah, well, she's still wrong. She's still wrong.
Well,
yeah,
she learns that the hard way.
Yeah, she learns it the hard way. Yeah. So, another one of my little bad points I had, it was, I wish this game had an autosave. Man, oh man, do I wish this game had an autosave, because my dumb butt did not save during my missions at all. And I would get 40 minutes in and do something stupid like destroy that Zerg building and have to restart my 40-minute mission. And this happened to me like 2 or 3 times where I'm like, oh my goodness, I was so far into this mission and I did something stupid. Like, oh man, I just wished I wish it was just an autosave. Like it would have saved me so much time.
But you have to remember, when the original StarCraft came out, autosaves weren't too much of a thing.
Yes, you're right. You're right. You're 100% right. They should have added it into this damn whatever you call it, like a remake or
Remaster.
remaster. They should have just added it in there because I suck, you know, and I do stupid stuff, and I know I'm not the only one that has this issue. I can't be. There has to be other people. And
I don't think StarCraft 2 has it either, and I think it's because they're real-time strategies games. Is the idea that like real time, you can't just sit there and save all the time.
yeah, I mean, you can if you remember to, you know,
If
like
you remember to go hit the button.
yeah, you can. I mean, so to me, putting in an autosave wouldn't have been like a big deal. Maybe every, you know, I don't know, 5-10 minutes. You know, that would be a lot better than the 30-minute like reset or 40-minute reset. Yeah, I forget because the game throws so much at you in the beginning, and well, if you're not an RTS player, like if you're not used to this kind of game, there's a lot to take in, and so you're not thinking about saving. All you're thinking about doing is like not dying. Like that's, you know, you're like, okay, how do I like? I know I got Zergs coming from this way, I got Protoss coming from this way, and I gotta like build my base, and so there's so much going on in your head that I completely forget, and that's why I would say like I'm probably not the only one that does that, but maybe just a little autosave, just a little bit, just give me a little tiny little sprinkle of it, you know, that's all I want. But yeah, you're right. You know, I guess the idea is that. But, you know, to me, I don't know why they would even put a save in the first place if that was the idea. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I understand that. But I will say they did keep that save in for that save mechanic in for the multiplayer. The multiplayer also has that save mechanic. So if you're in the middle of a game with a friend, you can save it and go back to it later.
Yeah, and I think games like this do need it because they're 40 minutes long. You know, it's nice to have that. Well, you know, if you're bad, they're 40. I guess if they're like me, they're 40 minutes long or whatever. But you know, it'd be nice to have that. Well, the autosave. But yeah, it's nice to have the save. You know, because it's like, oh, guys, we can't play for 40 minutes. We can only play for 20 minutes, and then we'll come back and play another 20 minutes when we get back. You know, I think that's pretty cool. So I'm glad they do have it, and and they did add a lot of cool little features like the little speed up, and they added the new graphics and the text, and they did a lot, you know, and it's kind of you know, again, mad because bad. It's kind of a little gripe because of mine of the autosave, but yeah, you know, it wasn't bad. Now before we get into the whole like rating stuff. Do you like what did I miss? Are there any final thoughts or stuff that I should add before going into rating the game?
I don't think so. We kind of talked about the story, though. I noticed we kind of glossed over the Protoss, but I don't really play the Protoss, so I actually don't know a whole lot about them aside from the fact that the character you play as in their episode 3 is actually the only named one. Yeah, no, I think that's about everything, really.
Okay, yeah, and the only thing I know about the Protoss is they're like anti-Zerg. You know, they're just like get rid of these guys.
Oh yeah, no, they literally are the Zerg's worst nightmare for the most part. And I think part of that is because in the lore, I think technically the Zerg and the Protoss were created by the same like god or whatever. I don't even know what it's officially called, but that's part of why they're kind of like foreign enemies.
Yeah, and the way they kind of dealt with it is kind of the way the Covenant deals with stuff is where they just have these giant spaceships in space, and they like nuke the planet with lasers, like these giant lasers.
Yeah,
and they destroy massive parts of the planet, if not the whole planet or whatever. So that's how they deal with them. They're like there's such a the way they seem to view the Zerg is that there's such a plague on the universe that we can't save the planet. We just have to nuke it. Like it's over. It's done. You know, it's a virus that can't be cured, basically.
Though you were saying there was like you said they kind of remind you of a place that had like what do you call like the convent or something like that?
The Covenant.
The Covenant. That the Protoss actually their leader is ruled by a conclave is what their group's called.
Okay, so yeah, I think Halo took a lot from them because Yeah, the Covenant does the same thing. They just get I think they nuke it with like a giant ship or maybe a Halo ring. I don't know what they nuke it with, but they nuke planets like that. The same way. They did it to what was that planet called in Halo? I can't remember, but it's a very famous planet in Halo, and the Covenant nukes it basically and destroys it. But they don't, the Flood is kind of an afterthought for the Covenant, and the Protoss, the Zerg is more of a forethought. The humans are more of the forethought for the Covenant. So it's just kind of interesting to see the contrast there. All right, so yeah, nothing really to add besides that whole Protoss segment. I don't know a lot about him. I'm sure I'll figure out more about him. I want to kind of like, I feel like because this game is kind of long because there's like roughly 30 hours of gameplay in just the base game without Brood War.
Just the base game, yeah.
So a week is not going to do it a lot of justice as far as story, especially, and like different races and stuff. So maybe this is a game I have to kind of revisit at some point. I think that would be a fun little series for patrons, like vote for a game for me to revisit, or that I didn't.
You can go finish Fable finally.
Yeah, I'm so close to. I'm so close to finish the game. And I'm so close to finishing Shadow of the Colossus too. I have one more boss.
And
funny.
then in this one, you're at least close to the end of the Terran episode.
Yeah, and I'm close to the end of the Terran. So what would you rate StarCraft? And let me think of a good rating system. I want to say 1 out of 10, but there's only 3 races, so 1 out of 3 is too low.
Do 1 out of 6 because that counts Brood War.
1 out of 6. Oh,
because Brood War adds 3 more episodes.
Yeah, we can do 1 out of 6. Sure, let's do that. 1 out of 6 episodes.
Well, here's the thing. I've never really played a whole lot of RTS games. StarCraft is kind of the only one I've really played. I've dabbled in League of Legends and then got bored. And then I like stared at Warcraft and contemplated playing it and never played it. I probably would say, for me personally, probably like 4 out of 6, just because I've never played any other ones, and StarCraft to me is the quintessential one in my brain. So every other one, if I ever play any others, are going to be compared to it.
Yes. Okay. So 4 out of 6. That's pretty decent. That's not a bad score. Yeah, I hear a lot that it's either StarCraft or Warcraft as the best RTSs of all time. And it kind of goes back and forth between these two. And maybe it kind of just depends on what you like more thematically. But
yeah, whether you want more of the fantasy or the sci-fi.
Yeah, and Warcraft 3 seems a little bit more hero-oriented than maybe StarCraft. Like, the heroes play a bigger part. But, yeah, man, so not 1 out of 6. What out of 6 would I rate it? And it's not a 1. Spoiler alert, I'll tell you that. It's not a 1.
I mean, maybe for the fact that the time missions are annoying, but...
Yeah, I think so. Overall, the gameplay is really fun. And I do like the base building. I like the sound. I like the music. I like the units.
Once you learn how to use the units, you actually get pretty good at figuring out which is good against what specific thing.
Yeah, the only unit I really didn't like that much was the siege tank because of the planting and unplanting. But most of them I liked, and I would, I had fun. I had fun playing this game, and I was playing it for a long periods of time, and I was still having fun. The only time I really didn't have fun is when I died and had to reset. That was the only time. Every other point, I was having a pretty good time. And I
remember you popped into my stream, and I was like, yeah, no, this is a game I could easily spend hours just playing just the story mode of StarCraft.
Yeah, and I think me too. And I think that's the same for me. And the only other time I would say I wasn't having fun was when I was looking for that last dang unit on the map or whatever.
The last little turret hiding in the corner.
Hiding in the tiny little corner, but overall, yeah, mostly just such a great time. And I was playing these missions for a long time, and I was having a blast, like the entire time. And the missions do a really good job at switching it up on your objectives and not making it just the same thing over and over and over. And
Like you have to get something to a different point, sort of thing, or
yeah,
just try to destroy.
yeah, exactly. And you have different units on each mission that you kind of work with, and like you maybe on one you're blocking the Zerg on that one mission, or maybe on one mission you're searching the facility of the what do you call them, the Confederates, and you're like trying to figure stuff out. So it's kind of cool that they switched up. So
I will
would
say the Zerg version of that sort of mission is actually easier.
really.
I will say that because I did just do that in my last stream of StarCraft myself, where I because the Zerg regenerate health, so you could
Yeah.
literally, if your little group gets injured, you can just sit there for like 5 minutes and be back at full health and keep going.
Oh, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, so I would give it a good solid. I think I'm going to copy you here. I think I'm going to give it a good solid 4 out of 6. I think that's a good. I think if they added, and these are simple fixes. I think if they added an autosave, I think if they added a slight the speed up mechanic a little bit more than it is, just a tiny bit more, and I think with those two things, and they changed those missions to where if you wiped out 90% of the people, then you're good to go. Like, I think if they just changed those,
or at least the main base, because they can't build anything more if the command center is destroyed.
yeah, exactly. Like just something else, rather than destroying every single tiny unit.
Which is really funny considering in the multiplayer, if you destroy all your opponent's bait, like all their like their command center or hive or whatever the Protoss one is called, that basically ends it. Like, because your opponent can't collect any more resources. And if you kill all their little dudes, the SCVs, the drones, don't remember what the Protoss one is called again, then suddenly they're basically stuck. They can't do anything. The game's essentially over.
Yeah, and see that makes sense to me. So they did the multiplayer right in that aspect. They should have done that with the campaign too, in my opinion. And I know they're not going to go back and change it because people have nostalgia for like the old campaigns, but I don't know. I think I would change it.
Yeah, they fixed the multiplayer, though. I will say, if you ever want to get good at the game or any of the races, play the multiplayer against the computers.
Yeah,
computers, I swear, can see the entire map.
They probably can. They probably can.
They have the cheat code enabled.
They got black sheep wall on, definitely. I do remember that code from back in the day, and you know the reason why is because I used it all the time when I was younger. Black sheep wall. I loved that one. I don't think I used the resource one. Maybe I did. I probably did.
I do love all the different names. Show me the money is the 10,000 minerals and Vespian gas one.
Show me the money.
Food for thought. Food for thought is you don't have to build supply depots or anything. You don't have to worry about supply limit.
Does that work in the campaign?
Typically, it's recommended you only use them in the campaign if you use them at all.
Oh, so you can use them in the campaign.
Because it's very much frowned upon to do it in a multiplayer game. Let's be honest.
I feel like a lot of multiplayer games would probably ban it, right? Like they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah. There's a reason why, like, Twitch, for instance, has it so that if you're caught cheating, it's like you're banned from the platform sort of thing.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's just bad, that's bad faith. Like, going in there and cheating in a multiplayer game, you shouldn't do that. I mean, if you want to cheat in your single player games, yeah, but if you're doing something competitive, don't do that.
Let's be honest, everyone has probably, if anyone who plays The Sims has probably used the cheat codes at some point.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's something about something Rose that I used all the time for the money in the Sims that I can't remember, but yeah. So yeah,
they had one for just building units faster. By the way, for a cheat code called Operation Seawall.
Oh yeah, so for me, you just give me all those, and you know what, games. You know what, I don't have any more complaints. Just give me.
It did boost up how fast your opponent.
Oh no.
Built them up too, but I think they're also hold on. What was the other one? Which one was it? There was one that literally. Oh yeah, power overwhelming. That's great if you just want the story of StarCraft.
What's that do?
Your units are invincible.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess if you just want the story. I was going to
If
say
you
that's
just
like,
want to go through for the story, that's the one for the story.
yeah, you're just going for the lore, I guess. I mean, at that point, just watch YouTube or something. I don't know.
I know, right?
Like,
You probably could literally just watch and just get all the story. I personally, because I've mentioned it, I'm going through the game again right now, and I'm going to go to Brood War. I'm going to try to get one of the there's a hidden mission on Brood War that you have to beat a level, and it's like the second to last level of the Brood War expansion, and you have to beat it in 25 minutes.
oh, okay. So it's pretty quick then
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That sounds like it would be rough for me. I don't know if I probably have to do it a few times.
I probably would have to do that well too.
So I always say viewer comments. These aren't viewer comments. These are listener comments. I had somebody say once that they're like, viewer, like, what am I missing? Like, why what are you doing, like video or something? No, they're not viewer. They're listener comments. And even that, a lot of these people aren't listeners. They're just Redditors. Some of the people are listeners,
They're just
but
random people from Reddit.
yeah, they're people that I asked about the game and, got their opinions on. So, yeah, so we're going to do No Hippo 1965 says, still holds up really well. The graphics aren't nearly as good as a modern game, but one, it's nostalgic, and two, the gameplay is still amazing, both PvP and campaign, though Dragoon pathfinding may or may not make you go crazy.
Yeah, the pathfinding on some of the characters. If you just click on a spot, you sometimes have to literally just keep clicking along the path that you want them to do. So I can agree with that one.
Which one's the Dragoon?
That is Protoss.
Oh, okay.
But it's that the pathing on a lot of the units in general can be like that.
I noticed some of my SVCs would get stuck behind the buildings after building them. I'm like, come on.
Oh yeah,
dude.
no. That's why I mentioned to you. I'm like, this happens a lot, particularly on this level. Use a drop ship to rescue them.
Yeah, and it did happen to me like maybe 4 times, and I have to go save the guy. I'm like, you come on, dude. But
Stop being an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. You're wasting my time. Now I gotta go pick you up, and the pathfinding. Yeah, some of them, I think I felt like they would kind of take a weird path sometimes, so I'd have to readjust them. So yeah, I could see that. And the Dragoons, I heard, don't go up ramps or something.
I do not remember.
That's kind of crazy.
I'm not entirely sure.
That's kind of crazy.
Protoss for you.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd like Dragoons. Lycos1124 says, I forget when a friend of mine got me into StarCraft demo where it just had 3 missions and only TVT, which apparently was released in June 23, 1998. It makes more sense now since I was almost for sure I got the retail game in 1998 for Christmas as a present for my mom, but I never knew when I was in the prequel. But yeah, one of the best games ever. I remember how great it was to wake up early Saturday and hop on the computer and fire up the game. You had to play with the CD, of course. I had all the game menus memorized to get right to where I was going, and I can just sit here and replay the music as the game opens, all the little cool visuals and animations. Okay. Yeah, the music was
Someone else would like some music.
Yeah, I mean, the music's great. It's listenable. Like, I would turn it up and jam to it for sure. It's very cool. Yeah, I mean, that's some good memories for him. You had to play the CD with the CD. It tells you to insert the disc. Back in the day, it's like insert disc 1, insert disc 2. You remember that?
Yeah.
And then you have to install them, and then in order to play the game, you got to reinsert disc 1 or what? I don't know. It was kind of like a funky little system they had going. But yeah.
A lot of the older PC games that were big had multiple discs if they were bigger games.
Yeah. I got I think World of Warcraft had 4 when I got it. For the first time. Just installing all those. And then the expansion came out and you had to install the expansion.
Yep.
JMoon33 said, it's still an excellent game. Some things are like pathfinding the Dragoons going up a set of stairs will drive you crazy. And less eventful missions in the campaign make it less enjoyable than StarCraft 2. but it's still in my top 5 RTS. It is aged quite well, if you ask me. Yeah, he mentioned the dragons too.
It's literally just the pathing sometimes can be wonky on literally any of them.
Yeah, they're just like, come on, like not going upstairs. Like go up the stairs. Like go up the stairs, man. I mean, I don't know if are they programmed not to go up the stairs?
I think it's more of just that I don't think had much of this issue, but I've had a lot of the issue where I'm like, okay, I know there's turrets like right there. I need to fly my things in this very specific path, and then the flying things literally just go straight into the path of the turrets.
Just gets wrecked by the turrets. You're like, oh my gosh.
I'm like, that's not where I wanted you to go.
Come on. Yeah, that would suck because you don't want to get those guys destroyed by the flying units are kind of hard to make in a way. So,
Yep.
So StarCraft 1, this guy says, Kalnos says, considering some of the horrible voice acting that was around in that era, just look at some of the PS1 games. The voice acting is amazing in StarCraft 1. Not just the unit voice acting, but also the pre-mission cutscenes and story dialogue. Gameplay is still great. There's a reason it's still so popular. It's fast-paced, responsive, and watching units fight/dies is satisfying. The pathfinding and unit limit is outdated, but it's just something you have to accept. As the other poster said, the CGI is outdated, but I find it charming. How do you feel about that?
I mean, some of the CGI is not the greatest. However, it is hilarious to me. I think it works in its favor, personally. Because while it does kind of seem campy and whatnot, it's pretty good for like the time that it came out.
Yeah.
I do have to say, voice acting, stellar.
Okay.
I will agree with that. They actually, if I remember correctly, when they brought StarCraft 2, they actually got quite a few of the voice actors back for it. I think the only one they didn't get was the original voice of one of the few they didn't get. So, like, for instance, they had the original voice for Raynor and Mensk still came back for it. I don't know if the other ones did. I know Kerrigan's voice actress didn't come back for it.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, but I know some of the other ones did, and I think actually most of the units were all voiced by like the exact same people. Like they had the small group of voice actors, and they all were literally just voicing everything.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I know a lot of projects did that back in the day where they just used the same people and like had them do different lines and characters. Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to get like a full crew, especially when you're a small indie company.
Oh my god, I'm laughing at this. So they only had a few voice actors for like the actual characters, and this a bunch of the like I randomly clicked because I pulled up this link that had like all the voice actors for the game lined up, and I'm laughing because I clicked on one at random for one of the other units, and it's literally just the music composer for the game.
Really?
Yeah, he did a few of them. Like he did the voice of the SCVs and like the Wraith
That's pretty cool.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, they just had a small team and they're working with what they had probably. I don't know how big Blizzard was at this point. I think what was their like? I mean, they had maybe Warcraft 1 and 2, and I don't know what else. I really don't know. Maybe first Diablo was out already.
I do not know which came first, actually. Hello, internet. Which came first? Because I do know. No.
I do not know either.
Diablo came first.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was gonna say like Diablo 1 and probably like Warcraft up to Warcraft 2, maybe. No, maybe just Warcraft 1. Not sure.
The original Warcraft came out first, then it was Diablo, and then it was StarCraft.
Okay, yeah. So it wasn't a huge. I mean, they were successful, but they weren't like huge yet at that point. They're still growing at that point.
Yeah.
So that makes sense that they use the same voice or like just like the music composer. Like okay, you just do these lines.
They also used one of the game designers also was a voice actor for a few of the characters. for a few of the background characters.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Actually,
cool.
looks like the first two Warcrafts were out by the time of StarCraft.
Okay, Warcraft 2 as well. Okay, I thought maybe
Yeah.
it was older, but I wasn't sure.
It was Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft.
Okay. Yeah, now I know. I just remember being in like 7th grade and some kid was like, "Yeah, I play a lot of Warcraft 2," and he talked to me about Warcraft all the time. And I talked to him about Diablo 2 because that's the one I was playing, so we would like exchange stories or whatever. um This person says no schedule 7079. The story holds up fine. The graphics for the cutscenes have not aged super well. StarCraft 2, I am, in my humble opinion, was a big letdown because I had to cater to esports. Back when StarCraft 1 was released, it was cutting edge. The story in StarCraft 2 retconned StarCraft 1 pretty hard. You can tell StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1 was made entirely by different people.
Yeah.
They retconned it?
That I've heard that there was quite a few retcons. Like for instance, the Protoss character that I mentioned, Artanis or whatever, the one that you play as in the episode as the Protoss person. From what I heard, he got retconned a bit around in StarCraft 2 because they mentioned obviously the stuff that happened in the original StarCraft and Brood War. It's Here's the thing: it probably would have been less obvious if they did it not as a direct continuation, but did it like what the spin-offs did, which is like a side story.
Okay.
It would have been probably better than just retconning things to fit into what the new people making the game wanted.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, when you get a bunch of new developers and story writers onto a team, you do kind of run into this issue where they sometimes want to, instead of being faithful to the old story, they kind of want to put in their own thing to make it theirs, you know? Like they want to co-opt it into their own personal like baby. And it's kind of it's unfair to the original writers, and it's definitely unfair to the audience as well when they do that. Certain retcons can be good, and I think it's pretty rare. But in general, I think it's really not. Most people don't like it when you retcon stuff.
Most people don't, but here's the thing: is that there was enough stuff you could do with StarCraft that you could easily have done it where you didn't have to retcon everything.
Yeah,
Like some of the stuff like could have been retconned with like a few lines of dialogue explaining how like not necessarily retcon, but like how say a character changed into being like this type of person. Like even just a few lines of dialogue probably could have fixed that sort of thing.
yeah, They just don't need it. You don't need to do that if you're writing on someone else's work and you're expanding on it or whatever. Don't retcon their stuff. Just make it. Just expand on it, but don't change the original story. That's just my humble opinion. I think that's yeah. And I think most people are that way too. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna announce the game for next week, and I'm gonna do a riddle, and I'll let you kind of try to see if you can guess what it is.
I probably won't, but sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? It's for the audience to, they can try to guess as well. So the riddle is next week's game riddle: Four Wings of Fate, a story untold, dragon and spirits from ages old, a tale of vengeance, of love and flame, transformation strikes. Can you name the game? I mean, to be fair, Tetra, if I didn't know what game it was, I wouldn't know through this riddle. I wouldn't be able to tell you.
First thing that popped to mind was talking about dragons.
Yeah.
Which immediately brings to mind like Dragon Age.
Yeah, no, it's not Dragon Age, but yeah, I can see why.
I figured not, but I'm like, I probably will know the game. There's a chance I might know the game when you say what it is, so I have no idea.
If it helps, it's from the PS1 era. Does that help at all?
Okay, then I might have at least heard of it, but probably never played it because I never owned a Sony system.
Okay, so it is Legend of Dragoon.
Oh, that one. Okay.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, me too. So I have never played Legend of Dragoon. So this isn't a revisiting. This is a first playthrough. I heard it compared to. I think it's a JRPG, and I heard it compared to like Final Fantasy. Again, Final Fantasy. I heard it compared to Final Fantasy a lot because it was overshadowed. People say it was overshadowed by Final Fantasy VII, and it's a really good game. It unfortunately just didn't get the spotlight that 7 did back then.
Probably.
So I'm excited to play it. I'm wondering how far I can get into it because I know JRPGs are long, so I might have to like do like a speed up feature or something, because like I don't know how long the battles take. I would like to get through as much of the story as I can. So we'll see.
So right now, my brain is like, I can think of 2 games that might be entertaining just to watch you play, but
Oh, really?
off the top of my head, yeah. 2 games
What?
just crossed my mind. I'm like, ooh, these might be interesting because I don't know if you'd have played them. One of them you might have. Maybe.
What are they?
Probably not. They're both actually have PC ports, so they both have PC ports. You might have played the NES version of one of them, which was the game was originally arcade. Dragon's Lair.
I've heard of it. I don't think I've
heard
played
of it.
Yeah.
Let me just say the death sequences are the best part of the game.
Okay.
And the other one I'm thinking of mentioning would be Phantasmagoria.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
That is an old PC game. Back when they did a lot of like, those games where they've got like the video of, like it's a real person in kind of like a digital world, like digital graphics background sort of thing. So they're the player character sort of thing. That one just has funny cutscenes.
Okay. All right.
Well, I think it's meant to be darker because I think technically it's considered a horror game.
Is it? It's like a horror NES or what? Which system?
That was a PC game.
Oh,
I
yeah.
give you the old PC games.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I mean,
the Dragon's Lair you probably have heard of. Dragon's Lair also is a lot of people don't realize that it is actually made by a pretty well-known animator. Did the animations for it.
It's not like Toriyama or something, right?
No, it's Don Bluth. So if you ever watched the original Land Before Time, All Dogs Go to Heaven, Anastasia, he did Anastasia and stuff like that.
Yes, I used to love the Land Before Time.
Land Before Time, yeah. He did the original Land Before Time movie.
Okay.
So that's his animation style.
I watched Littlefoot a lot. That was when I was very young. Yeah, awesome. So I wanted to give you the opportunity to plug your socials. I know you're on Twitch, and I
am on Twitch now.
Yeah, and I've watched you a little bit there.
And I am on Twitch now, and like the first time I was on this, I'm like, I don't have anything.
Right. You got it now.
I do. I'm the Distracted Daffy Gamer on Twitch. I am currently playing through StarCraft. I've also been playing through the original Resident Evil. I'm almost to the end of it, I think. I've never actually fully beaten the game, so I don't know if I am. And then once a month, I'm going to be doing my Super Mario 64 16-star speed run, so...
Yes, and you were talking to me a little bit about that, and that's kind of like, that's super interesting to me. I've never done any speed runs, so I would like to see how you do, That'd be cool.
Backwards long jumps are the bane of my existence.
Yeah, awesome. And you said it for the audience, just so they know how to spell it, it's Distracted Daffy Gamer?
Daffy Gamer, yep. I randomly, when I created my Twitch channel last year, when I decided to try to actually learn how to speedrun, I put it in, I did a random name generator.
Hey, it works.
It does work.
Yeah, I don't know what, Daffy just reminds me of like Daffy Duck.
Daffy Duck.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't know if it's spelled the same way, right?
It is spelled the same way.
Okay, there you go.
Perfect. So it works out.
Yeah, awesome. All right, yeah, guys, so go check out Tetra. She's doing playing a lot of cool games. Who doesn't want to watch the OG Resident Evil? I love that game. And she also plays StarCraft. And if you like this episode, then you'll probably like watching StarCraft.
Yeah, I'm in the Zerg episode right now and hating every moment of it because I still hate the Zerg.
and you could watch her hate the Zerg. So there you go. Awesome. Yeah, thank
Hey,
you for
know what?
coming
Maybe
on.
I'll actually learn to like the Zerg. Who
Hey,
knows?
maybe you never know. Maybe something clicks and you're like, you just become Kerrigan or something, and you're just running the Zerg.
I'm
That's
I'm trying to see if I can get people together to maybe do a multiplayer map at some point.
That'd be fun. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, maybe I'll join in if I get some extra time and get my butt whooped. Thank you for coming on.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome. This was awesome. Thank you. Well, folks, that's game over for this episode of Retro Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on this retro adventure. If you loved today's trip down memory lane, then consider helping me keep the nostalgia alive by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. You'll get early episodes, bonus content, and a chance to pick the next game that we reload. Feel free to let me know your thoughts about the podcast, and until next time, keep those controllers charged.